Welcome back to the Runaround here on ESPN 1300 AM. I'm your co-host Greg Jubb along with Brad Jager. If you want to learn more about the Runaround or Running Maryland, check out runningmaryland.com. We have everything you need to know on there, all the latest results, photos, news, everything about the Runaround. So check us out online there. And also, if you're looking for the latest running gear, shoes, apparel, whatever,
check out Halliburton Sports.
HalliburtonSports.com. Check them out, all the coolest stuff. They have a race quarters portion of their website now, so you can check out races as well. So check them out, HalliburtonSports.com.
Brand new looking website, too. It looks pretty good.
Very sleek.
Yeah. Hey, and we're here with Harry Goodman, one of the top runners in Baltimore area from the 70s and the 80s, and a guy I ran against a whole bunch of times back then, but I don't know how much we remember of that anymore, at our age anymore. So welcome, Harry.
Well, thank you, and I'm enjoying being here.
Move the microphone closer to you. There you go. And so how long has it been since you've been competing?
Well, it's probably been about 15 years, because I went into triathlons, as you probably know, because I think you managed some,
yeah.
You know, so I went into triathlons after I finished road racing and did that for a while, but it's probably been about 15 years.
Do you miss competing?
No, because I was too, it was 24/7. It was 24/7, and I kind of lived, breathed it, and ate it. And after that was done, I'm happy to, have a break.
What was the thing that told you, I'm just done with this, I've had enough?
Well, it was an injury, okay, because it was in a triathlon, and in fact, it's still bothering me right now. I heard it again this weekend, but I have a chronic Achilles problem. So after a race, it would be like a week to two before I can even walk normal. So it just got to the point where I just couldn't anymore. I enjoy running at more of a slow pace, and, I could sustain that.
Back in the 70s, when we were out there training, the big mantra was LSD and not lysergic acid, but long, slow distance. Did you follow that mantra?
No, and I kind of disagree with that, okay, because you had guys like, I was following guys like Alberto Salazar, and they wanted to do not... Even though that he was able to do like 120 miles a week, sometimes there are some guys that can do good marathons after 80, 90, okay, but you mixed it up. You did cross country, you did track. I used to do a little bit of weight training, a little bit of swimming, a little bit of biking on top of it.
You were saying before you were doing, your big week would be maybe 110 miles per week, but for marathons you were training between 80 and 90 miles a week. Were you doing those in one sessions, or were you going two-a-days on those type of workouts?
Two-a-days. Definitely two-a-days, especially when I got up around 90s. Because I was working a real job, okay? So, right. I mean, when you have to be at work, I mean, I'd run a little bit before work and a little bit after work.
Don't you hate when work gets in the way of your play? It's terrible how that works like that. Back then, there were so many races. Every weekend, you would see some good 5Ks or 10Ks. Mm-hmm. What was the most memorable thing about racing for you back then?
Well, it was fun. It was more of, I was a member of BRC, and it was kind of like a family back then. You go out there and you see the same kind of guys, and, after the race, tone down with them a little bit, and it was a closeness we all held. We shared, we all shared running together, and it was fun, and we all enjoyed it together.
You ran a lot of the old Maryland marathons that were back here that Les Kenyon organized.
Correct.
Way back when. How many of those did you run?
How many?
How many different Maryland marathons?
Oh, I have no idea. I did it every year. I never, as long as I was running, I never missed a year. But I don't know. I really never followed or kept track of a lot of stats about myself.
That race used to start down at the old Memorial Stadium, right?
Correct.
And then would go up Hillen Avenue all the way down Sater Hill, go
Correct.
out the reservoir to Pierce's, turn around and come back pretty much.
Correct.
When you would be coming back through the park there, how bad were those hills, especially when you hit Sater Hill?
Well, Sater Hill, I used to go out there and train every Sunday on, okay, especially getting ready for Baltimore. So I was familiar with it. I knew every step. But I actually liked rolling hills on marathons as compared to a flat course, because on a flat course, you're just going to use one muscle group the whole time. I did enjoy having a different variety of terrain.
What do you remember most about the Maryland Marathons? They brought in some pretty good runners a couple of years for these races, didn't they?
Well, at the end, they started paying runners to come in, and you know, I kind of had some words with some of the race directors at the time. I mean, look, don't get me wrong, I love Les, okay, but you know, the thing is, you're going to bring in other guys and pay them to come in to compete against, you know, local runners.
Right.
I mean, you know, if they want to come in and go after the prize money, you know, that's fine. Okay, but you know, to offering them incentives. I mean, in one year we paid Bill Rogers to come in, and they gave him Do you remember this? They gave him $20,000, right? Okay, and he said, and he ran through the race, but he just jogged it.
Yeah.
Okay, and he said, well, I'm not going to race for $20,000. You remember that?
I think I would race for $20,000
You know,
in about
he said, well, you got to pay me a lot more if you're going to race it.
Oh man!
So you're a fan of that organic running scene, and a lot of that, the incentivized race entries happens a lot today. But going back to when you said you remember the BRC and you'd go out and work a full-time job, did you have people that could commiserate with you or at least train with you, or were you out there alone for the most part?
Oh, I just trained alone. I didn't really have the time to train with somebody else, but I didn't like training with other people, okay? Because whenever, you know, at that point, when you get to the point where you're kind of the, let's say, in a local area, the big guy to knock off, okay, even when you go on a training run, people would want to beat you, okay? You know, just so they can have, let's say, bragging rights at the end, okay? So, you know, it got to that point where I just trained alone.
Now, there's a lot to be gained from going out there, going for a long run or just even an easy run, workout, what have you.
Right.
Alone and just be there with your thoughts. It kind of forces you to push yourself, which you can learn a lot from as a runner. But were there ever times where you said, oh, I just wish I had someone to push me maybe to that next level, or were you always kind of happy with where you were?
Well, I won't say I was never happy where I was, okay? I always wanted to improve, okay? And I think one time I said, you know, a coach would have not have pushed me as hard as I pushed myself, okay? I mean, to get up early in the morning, you know, sometimes getting up at like 5 o'clock, okay, to go out and maybe do 8 to 10 miles, and then do it after work. I pushed myself harder than any coach, than any coach would have pushed me. I know a coach would have told me to back off at times. I mean, I would train through colds. You know, the only thing I couldn't train through was fevers because you just couldn't release the heat, but I would train through colds. I'd just back off the intensity level, okay, but I wouldn't back off for anything. And I just had that intensity level where I wanted to be, mentally, I just wanted to get as good as I could, and I hate to lose. When I went into a race, I hated to lose, okay, so to answer your question, I didn't need anybody to push me.
Mm-hmm. And what was your marathon PR?
It was 2:25 done here in Baltimore, actually, with the one with Cedar Hill included. Okay, I really didn't travel to go to fast courses. That wasn't what I wanted to do. Actually, what I really wanted to do was be the first Baltimore-born person to win Maryland, or what was that was called Maryland Marathon back then. I wanted to be the first Baltimore-born person to do that. I finished second twice, so never won, but I did finish second twice.
But you clearly had that fire within you. But going back to training, we mentioned you train 110 miles per week, max at times. What was your workout plan? You know, you're training for a marathon. There's all kinds of different philosophies. But what was Harry Goodman's philosophy for running a peak marathon?
I do hill repeats. I'd work in intervals. I do track work, sometimes cross country because that would build up strength. Do weight training, swimming, and bicycling on top of it.
Now, did you find that swimming and cycling was a good addition to the training because of all the pounding of running 110 miles per week? Did you use that as an addendum or something to really, not an addendum, excuse me, as a supplement to your training, or did it actually replace running
No, never replaced.
mileage?
No, you had to put the mileage in. The problem is that I kind of started late running.